Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Uh, Guest starring Garrett from
Side.
Soundlab Studios, and today we're going to be reviewing "Stay with the Hollies," their debut album. Before we get started, what did you think of the album, like as a whole? Like,
As
not
a
going,
whole,
yeah,
well, if you're looking at the Great British Invasion debut albums, this is not one of them.
yeah,
Now, the Hollies are a very good British Invasion band, but this is kind of a very wink link and is my least favorite album of theirs that I've heard up to this point. Spoiler alert.
yeah,
I've heard some of their later stuff and it's a lot better. This
yeah,
is well, I'll save a lot of my thoughts for the rank or the review, and then at the end, I'll kind of say how it ranks with other British Invasion albums and other '60s debut albums.
yeah. Uh, my opinion on the album, yeah, it's not that good. I wouldn't say it's a bad album. It has enough songs for me
It's an
to say
okay
it's
album.
all right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But like compared to the albums that came after, like in the Holly style, Would You Believe, Evolution, those great albums, and then you go back to the first album, and then you're just like, ugh, you know, me like for their first album, it's good. It's a good way to start your career off, but it's not like an album that like really aged all that well.
Yeah, and I understand that back in the day, in order to get a record deal, you kind of had to do a lot of cover songs, but there's too many on this album.
Yeah, 13 out of the 14 tracks were covers, and the one original track I'll go over, which is
I
Little
can't
Lover.
even tell which one's the original. They all sounded like covers.
Fair enough. Uh, that's how kind of I feel. Track one, side one,
All right,
talking about you. What's your opinion on it?
the Rolling Stones do it better.
I agree.
From December's Children and Everybody's. I think it's the second track. The Rolling Stones version is a lot better. At least this version was okay. Like whenever you said it wasn't going to be a very good album, and this song came on, I'm like, well, this is all right. Maybe it's actually not going to be that bad, but it gets worse. So this is one of the more listenable to tracks on the album.
Okay. My opinion on the song, I think it's a good way to start off the album. Yeah, I do agree the Stones do it better, and the Beatles do it way better on their live at the BBC recordings. They do it way better than the Hollies.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just an all right opener. You have Route 66 by the Stones. You have uh, Out in the Street by the Who, and you have I Saw Her Standing There by the Beatles, and then you have Talking About You by the Hollies. It's like, eh, that's the best way. Like, describe that first Talking About You by the Hollies in one sound. Eh,
Yeah, the first song on your first album should be like a statement of your a statement of what your band is about, and it's like if you want to hear more of this, listen on. But I understand that every debut song can't be "Good Times, Bad Times" by Led Zeppelin. But
yeah, not only that, but doesn't help that Tony Hicks doesn't do any of the backing tracks. Like
mm,
in terms of vocals, that like after listening to their vocal harmonies afterwards, it sounds more fuller than it does now. Like on this album, it's only Graham Nash and
um,
Alan Clark doing
okay,
doing vocals.
I
Like
will
Tony,
say that I like Tony Hicks's guitar tone on this record. That's
yeah,
one of the upsides of it.
I agree. Like his guitar solos are actually really good. It's just the rest of it is just not as good as the rest of it.
Yeah.
But side one, track two, Mr. Moonlight. What do you think?
I have not heard any good versions of this song. I was hoping that whenever I heard this that it would redeem the Beatles version. And honestly speaking, I liked it even worse than the Beatles version. If I had one word to describe it, it would be clunky. Because I know kind of how it's supposed to sound from the Beatles version, and they have all these changing, like these tempo changes in the song, and tempo changes are usually really cool, but like the way they did them in this song was really clunky and very uncomfortable. Like Rush and Genesis and bands like that can do tempo changes like really easily, and it's like, oh, did we just change tempos? But on this song, it was very like, oh, we're singing it like this, and now we're playing it like this, and it was very contrasting and very awkward to listen to. So Not a big, honestly, thinking about it, just not a big fan of this song. Mr. Moonlight, I don't know why so many people covered this song because, like, just generally speaking, it's not that great.
Yeah. Uh, my opinion on this song, I think it's a lot better than the Beatles version. I'm not saying it's a great song, but if I had to pick my poison, I'd probably pick that. I will say Graham Nash's vocals on this is ear piercing. Listening, the way he sings this song is really horrible. It's kind of like how what's the person who you do album reviews with normally?
Jeremy and Joseph.
Jeremy. It's like his opinion on Pete Townshend's first vocals on My
Oh,
Generation. It's not good at
legal
all.
matter.
It doesn't show how great. It doesn't showcase how great his vocals would become. It's just
Yeah, I can see
honestly,
that.
it's just his vocals are not that good. The music is really good, and I agree that the them trying to change the tempo is not the best. And yeah, that's my opinion on that.
All
Okay,
right.
next track. You better move on. What do you think about that?
Another okay song. It's another cover song. A lot of these songs kind of lost my attention. I know you reminded me the Rolling Stones did a version of this. I just forgot what that sounded like.
It's kind of like Anna Go to Him kind of style.
Okay.
It's off the December's Children album. It's a
Okay.
heck of a lot better than this. You
Okay.
say
So
you
I
say
need to
it's
listen
just
to that again.
I say you say it's just okay. I think it's just horrible. I don't like it at all. Like when I was listening to it on my record player, I was really close to just picking up the needle and skipping on to the next track. I don't like that track. It's just
There was one or two songs that I felt like that, but it wasn't this one.
yeah. I didn't like it. It's probably like that song and a different song are like the two worst songs on the album.
Okay.
Okay, track 4 on side one, Lucille.
This was one of the better songs on the album, kind of a more up tempo rocker. However, it didn't catch my attention enough for me to remember anything about the song other than it was at least better than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, my opinion on it. There are some part. Well, I do like the. Well, I woke up this morning. Lucille was not inside. Like I do like that because I don't know. I just like Alan Clark's delivery on that line. But rather than
Mm.
that, besides that, and Tony Hicks's rocking a guitar so on the boom boom bum 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 bum. Besides
Oh
that,
yeah,
not too crazy about that track.
I
It's
remember
just
what it sounded like now. I remember it going on and thinking this is literally one note different than "Pretty Woman" by Roy Orbison,
man, I didn't think about that.
because that was bo 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 bo, and the other one is do 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 do. It's just a few notes different.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, I didn't notice that. That's interesting. Okay, next track, Baby Don't Cry. It's a fifth track on side one. What's your opinion?
Didn't like this one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think it's one of the better tracks compared to Mr. Moonlight and You Better Move On and eh, I'd say it's about equal to Lucille, but so far the best track on the album is the very first track on the album, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's an okay track. So yeah, that should tell you how not so good this album is.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, next track, Memphis, Tennessee.
This one is all right. Although I was kind of confused as like what's happening in the song. So first I thought he would like at first I'm like, is this a stalker song? Like is he stalking a girl? But then it's like, oh, he's the only person I need to. It's just like, is he trying to get a hold of his girlfriend? But then they said she's only 6 years old. Like, is he trying to find his daughter now? Like, I can't understand what's going on in the song.
Yeah, they cover Chuck Berry a lot. They covered Memphis, Tennessee. They did Too Much Monkey Business. They did Sweet Little 16. Honestly, out of all the Chuck Berry tracks that they did, I'd say Too Much Monkey Business was like the only great one that they did. Rather
Mhm.
than that, I don't know. I try not to be too mean to them. They're like my third favorite band, but they don't really cover Chuck Berry that well, and
Mhm.
this is no exception to that.
If you want to see somebody covering, like, you want to see the best cover of Chuck Berry, I will show
Yeah.
you the 8-minute epic Electric Light Orchestra cover of Roll Over Beethoven mashed up with Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. That's the best
Okay.
Chuck Berry cover.
I thought you were gonna say, "Oh yeah, the 8-minute Elton John track from Johnny Be Good."
No, no, no. There is a Johnny Be Good cover by Elton John, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I listened to it. It's not good. Yeah,
Why
but
did you
yeah,
actually listen to that?
yeah. I was curious, but okay,
Those are some famous last words. I was curious. Anyway, well, let's get to a good song.
yeah. Let's get
Stay.
to the best. Well, my second favorite track off the album, "Stay." Uh,
This is my
yeah,
favorite song on the album.
I could see
Um,
why.
Now listening to it, I think it also kind of sounds, and I know this came out first, but it also kind of reminds me of anyhow, anyway, anywhere. If that's like is that the right way to say the title of
I
that song?
don't. I always forget the name of the song too.
But it's like both of them kind of go ba da 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 da, and the background people go ba da do. Except honestly, I kind of like anyhow, anyway, anywhere a little bit more. But still, this song was actually pretty good. It was catchy and honestly made up for some of the worst songs on this album.
Yeah, my opinion. Oh yeah, by the way, it's anyway, anyhow, anywhere. I think that's how you said it, or
Okay.
how any whatever. But to me, it doesn't remind me of that. But it's great. It reminds me. It's like to me, it's like like the Beatles started off with "I Saw Her Standing There." Like that's like the first like track that had like any potential of being just as good as that track. It's like
Mhm.
you have like six like either mediocre or bad tracks, and then you get "Stay," and you're just like, wow, where did all that energy go? Like you made six of those songs, and you make this great song, and it's like, dang, that's weird, really weird. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Oh boy, the B side gets even worse.
Okay, Rockin' Robbins opens
It
up.
starts out it starts out okay. This cover of Rockin' Robin is really good. But like I've heard this song before and like I don't know. It was a good cover, but it's like there's like a million covers of Rockin' Robin out there.
I actually do enjoy that song. It's definitely a lot better than the last. Well, not well. It's definitely a lot better than tracks 1 through 6 combined. That's what I've actually.
Yes. I
But
agree with that statement.
it's if I ever if I had to compare Rock and Robin to any of the songs on In the Holly style, it's compared to it would be like completely trash. But like compared to the songs on this album, it
In the Holly
sounds
style
great.
sounds like Sergeant Pepper compared to this.
Yeah, it's like to me, Stay with the Hollies. To me, it's like it's like the Beatles. It's like the Hollies for Sale album. It's like that, and then like them
Okay.
going from Beatles for Sale to Please Please Me, and then onward. But yeah,
Mm.
that's how I feel. Like they started on such a crummy note, and well, this one isn't an example of that. But yeah, it's great, but
But even Beatles for Sale had its 8 days a week, and that is stay.
yeah, and comparing those two was yeah yeah 8 days
Anyway,
a week is way better.
the next song. Oh no.
What you gonna do about it?
Every other song. Okay, there's one other song that's okay, but like pretty much all these other songs are really bad, honestly speaking. What You Gonna Do About It was one of my least favorites on here.
I could see why.
It was like almost like some of these songs were like an exercise in like how long can I continue listening. But then you listen to like their harmonies, and their harmonies are actually really good, and that's one of the positive things I have to say about the album.
Okay. My opinion on it is, yeah, uh, you say the harmonies are good, but I think well after hearing In the Hollow style and having Tony Hicks added into the mix, and then hearing just Alan Clark and Graham Nash singing together just without him, it's just not ear
Mm,
grating, but it feels
feels
empty.
different.
Like their harmonies just feel a lot more emptier without Tony Hicks singing with them, and
Mm,
yeah, this song's hard to listen to. Not gonna lie.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, track 3 of side 2. Do you love me?
I'm sorry, I don't even remember what this one sounded
Do
like.
you love me? Do you really move? Do you love me?
Oh, no, this is the one. All right, this is the one that. Oh, I was thinking of the wrong thing. Okay, yeah, so Stay was not the one that sounded like Anyhow, Anywhere, Anyway, or whatever that's called. This is the
Okay,
one that did. This is the one that did. Oh, yeah. No, Stay was more the upbeat rocking song. Sorry about that.
it's okay.
Okay, this one was okay. This is the one that reminded me of that song.
Okay. I think it's a good rocker. I wouldn't consider it to be, but yeah, it's another track that I'm just like, it's good. Next, and
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of these songs, they just all like they even the best tracks, they all just sound outdated. Like they don't like unlike Please Please Me, which has like a really like timeless sound to it. This album just sounds dated.
Please Please Me sounds like a perfect time capsule into the 60s, like exactly what you'd want the 60s to sound like. This album is kind of like more, I don't know, like forgettable 60s.
Yeah, this is just like the '60s that a lot of people tries to forget. This is just
Hmm.
them like going with the flow. It's basically like what a lot of people consider to be like, like in the '80s, we're like, oh yeah, like this sounds '80s. Well, yeah, this sounds '60s in all the wrong ways.
Mm.
Okay, next track. It's only make believe.
This
Which
one, this
about
one is okay. I like the guitar sound on this one, but I don't know. I feel like they should have used a different melody or something. Oh well, it's a cover though. Is this a cover or is this the
yeah,
original?
it's another cover, Conway Twitty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like the accompaniment, but I don't know. The melody was not in it wasn't very interesting.
Yeah, I actually, it's crazy enough. I actually think it's my favorite track on the album. It's really nice. It's actually one of the, this like the only track where the harmonies don't feel completely empty. Like
Mhm.
I actually can kind of dig it because it's a softer number. So I'm not really expecting like a full arrangement of melody of vocals on this one, but even then, like if even like for me, the weakest track, like I said, bringing in the Holly style again, the weakest track on In the Holly style is a lot better than the strongest song on Stay with the Hollies. So
Mm,
yeah, that should tell you how I feel about this album. Like again, but
again,
next track, to me, I'm gonna just gonna spoil it. Next track is the worst song on the album. What kind of girl are you?
it is. Is this better not be the original?
No, thank goodness.
Okay, because this was on the whole time. I was just like, this is bad. Like the melody was just bad, and it was just forgettable.
For me, it was memorable for all the wrong reasons. It was kind of like, to me, it's like when Stu, I forgot the name of the bassist from CCR.
Oh,
It was like
Stu
hearing him
Stu
sing
Cook.
songs. The harmonies were garbage. Like I can't.
Oh, don't you take it like a friend.
I might actually. This might be crazy, but I actually like that song better than this one because at
At
least
least that song is funny. Like
yeah,
it's
at least
so bad it's
funny than
funny.
that. This is just, I don't know, Graham Nash and Alan Clark. It was like, hey, let's just do like the most obnoxious vocal take and let's call it a day. Okay, let's get into a R8 track, which is the original, Little Lover.
Oh, this is the original. I
Yes,
I thought it was okay.
that's a good way of putting it. It's okay. It's so okay-ish that I'm like, you know what? You should have just made the whole album a covers album. Like not only that, but well, I want us to listen to it after the stream, but there's a B side to a single that they made that Tony Hicks and the drummer Bobby Elliott made, which is called "Keep Off of That Friend of Mine." And you'd be like, "Wow, why wasn't this the song that was chosen as the original? Like, why wasn't this the one?" But
I don't
yeah,
know.
like when we improve on this album, when we make the video, improving
This album needs improving.
a lot of improving. Like I
I have
thought,
a really good idea for a video series that I'll tell you after the stream.
okay,
That's
but
kind of in that vein.
yeah. Okay. Number 7, Candyman, the last track on the album.
It's a terrible song. I was like, this is so. This is a very. It was very. In a word, I'll describe this one in one word: cringy.
My opinion on it. Uh, Here's a quick way of putting it. Don't expect twist and shout.
No,
Unlike the Beatles, where they end off on twist and shout, and the Who ends off on the ox, they end off on the weakest possible note. Like they start on the weakest possible note, and then they end on the weakest possible note, which is to me is a very embarrassing.
kind of
For
like when the Rolling Stones ended off with "Walking the Dog."
no, don't even compare it to that. That song's a lot better than this.
It
At least
is.
Walking the Dog has like at least the vocals aren't like ear grating like Alan Clark's "Will you find me?"
That's what it sounded like,
And then
just like that.
the man like it's like Alan Clark trying to do a Bob Dylan impression, but like while he's drunk. That's a good way of putting it.
Drunk Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way of putting it. Whenever I listen to that track, I'm just gonna be like, let's listen to drunk Bob Dylan. But
Drunk Bob Dylan. Hey, what a deal, Candyman. Hey, man, well, somebody better get me something to eat because I'm. Ooh.
yeah, well, showcasing my original copy. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
you
gonna be
have
like
it.
the only copy I'm ever gonna buy. It wasn't expensive. I'll never
Okay.
buy. I'll never spend a lot of money on this album. uh,
No.
this is just me completing my collection. But yeah, um, yeah. What's your
Final
rating?
ranking. I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
Wow, you're being generous with this album. I give it a 3.5 out of 10.
Oh wow. It was still better than Odelay by Beck. Sorry to all of you people who like that album, but that album was very grating to listen to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like having it at 3.5 is like me being like it's a mediocre album. If I put it as like a 1 out of 10, then that's a bad album. Like I said, it has enough songs to be a mediocre album.
Yeah.
Like if they took out Stay and it's
It's
only
only
make
make believe.
and Rockin' Robin, and they had like three other awful tracks on it, then yeah, the album would be completely garbage. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, next album we review, which will be next week, is going to be in the Holly style, which
I have heard that album. That album is a lot better. You know what? That album should have been the Hollies' debut album.
yeah,
Like they should have just kept going for better songs because the in the Holly style sounds like it would have been a really strong debut for them.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, big improvement from there. 7 out of the 12 tracks are originals, so yeah.
And the covers on there are a lot better, like "Too Much Monkey Business."
Too much
And
more.
is the
Yeah,
Nitty Gritty a cover song?
yeah. Nitty Gritty slash something's got a hold on me is a
That's a
cover.
good that's a good cover song.
Uh, I thought of you last night's great. What's another one? It's Inner Kiss I love, and even What Kind of Boy Are You? Just 5 great covers.
Much which is better than "What Kind of Girl Are You?"
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. Actually, I never thought of it. What kind of boy? What kind of boy do you think I am? Like compared to what kind of girl are you? Like, yeah. Well, yeah. When we rank the Hollies albums on your channel, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
expecting.
I know
I'm
it's
not.
gonna be last.
Yeah, it's probably most likely it's gonna be last. Yeah, like this and hmm, even Russian Roulette. I'm not crazy about that album, but at least that album has their weaker moments is not as weak as their weaker moments.
This
Okay,
is comparing it with other debut albums. This is like one of the worst debut albums I've heard.
yeah, it's well, what do you? I say it's like, I think it's, I think it's both worse than Surf and Safari, and it's worse than England's newest hit makers.
It is. And don't even get me started on "Please Please Me" by the Beatles because it's definitely not on
I was
that
just
album.
I'm a bigger I'm a more of a Hollies fan than a Beatles fan, but even I could agree the Beatles did a much better debut album. But if I were to compare with the Beatles versus In the Holly Style, I'd give the nod to In the Holly Style. But yeah, it's weird. Like the Hollies got better after their first album, which I'm glad they did, and then the Beatles get slightly worse after their first album.
Which they could have gotten better after their first album, but we'll save that for our Improving the Beatles albums video.
Oh yeah, by the way, the reason why they didn't have I Want to Hold Your Hand on with the Beatles is because they recorded it after releasing with the Beatles.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting to know that, right?
Mm.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video I make. See ya.
Please continue with the Hollies. They get better.
Yeah, they get a lot better. Trust me. Trust me.